I now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation to make a statement. You have the floor.
Thank
you, Chair. The delegation of the Russian Federation has the honour to introduce on its behalf and also on behalf of a group of co-sponsors from all regions of the world a draft resolution as contained in document L62. I would like to express our gratitude to all states who submitted constructive proposals to the negotiation of this text. Chair. Next year, it will be 75 years since the moment when member states of the anti-Hitler coalition, called themselves United Nations, secured a great victory over Nazism and fascism. Then, in 1945, the founders of the UN were convinced that the Nazi ideology, based on a theory of racial supremacy, would become something of history, would be part of history. And this was also enabled by the verdict of the Nuremberg trials, who decisively and unequivocally condemned the crimes of those who their actions trampled on the rights, freedoms and dignity of humans, who denied the principle of equality of peoples, whatever their racial, ethnic, religious or linguistic affiliation. However, there are still some who, to further their own political and opportunistic interests, are trying to review these decisions of the Nuremberg trials, to rewrite history, to try and prove that the ideology of National Socialism had every right to exist. But the acts of Nazis and those who collaborated with them were actually produced because of some higher ideal. We believe this approach to be unacceptable and completely sacrilegious. Chair. In the draft resolution before the third committee, mention is made of a very real and very dangerous trends which we need to counter both on a national and international level. Today we are still encountering different manifestations of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia and related intolerance. At the same time, spreading of racist and extremist ideas is more and more often being justified by related to an alleged absolute of freedom of expression. This runs counter to the obligations of states under fundamental international human rights treaties, including the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Convention on the Eradication of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. We cannot not be concerned by the fact that the ideology and practice that countries of the anti-Hitler coalition fought against is still inspiring extremist groups. And this largely enables the glorification of those who were complicit in the crimes of Nazism, including the exoneration of former members of the SS, including in those who were part of the Waffen-SS, which the Nuremberg trials found to be criminals for their acts during the Second World War. Recently in Europe, there's a war on the monuments who fought Nazism and fascism at the same time. There is a celebration and opening of memorials to Nazis, and this can only be deemed to be a desecration to veterans of that war, proclaiming that those who fought on the side of fascists were heroes, or equating them to those who were part of the national liberation movements, plays directly into the hands of those who stand for racial purity, for discrimination based on racial or ethnic affiliation, not even to mention what example is this giving to the younger generations. Chair, the phenomenon and practice which is mentioned in the draft resolution before the third committee, are a threat to the whole international community. Our task together is to find a response to this challenge through pooling our efforts and strengthening international cooperation. It is us who will determine whether Nazist ideology will become subject of study for historians, or even the theories of National Socialism will actually get a second wind to the benefit of short-term political opportunism. In conclusion, for the record, I would like to inform you that unfortunately in the draft into Russian there were a couple of mistakes made, and we've sent the corrections to the Secretariat, and we trust that these changes will be taken into account when publishing this resolution to be included in the report of the third committee, which is planned for December in the UN General Assembly plenary session. I thank you very much.
Je vous remercie.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation.